I am Maryannne Ochola. I'm the Regional Chapter Manager for ANDE in East Africa. ANDE is the Aspen Network of Development Entrepreneurs. The opportunities that currently exist in the Kenyan market for gig workers are that in an environment with quite high unemployment rates, usually marked in terms of how many formal jobs are being created by the economy. This is a whole new area for young people and for people with skills to apply themselves in short-term work that is flexible, that is independent, and one that they are able to control themselves. In terms of the companies, this is an opportunity for flexibility. It's an opportunity to determine when you need what level of workforce. It's also an opportunity to determine your HR costs, which you always cannot control in tandem with your production or with your level of activity, whatever industry you're engaged in. But for companies as well, this is an opportunity to tap into innovation, to tap into a demographic that was hitherto untapped. So one of the barriers that is facing the gig economy is that we're getting into a way of working that has not been there before. So the system is not structured to accommodate gig work. From a gig worker perspective, we're calling for management of self. We're calling for the worker being in charge of themselves end to end. These are not skills that are taught in our education system. These are not skills that have a precedence. In terms of the companies, we're also calling for a way of working that is not matched by the processes, the infrastructure they have built within the companies themselves. And for the ecosystem, we're calling for a legal framework, we're calling for labor laws, we're calling for social protection practices that have not been there before. In terms of how this can be addressed, this is an opportunity in disguise. Number one, for people that are training young people, be they colleges, be they universities, be they other service providers, to start to train young people to look at themselves as the unit, not as an employee. So we have opportunities in mentoring, opportunities in training, opportunities in capacity building. For the companies themselves, this is also an opportunity to start to segment the work in terms of what must continue to be done by permanent employees and what can actually be taken up by gig workers in a more agile way, in a less costly way. For the system, and this is the enabling environment, then we are calling for lawmakers, we're calling for legislators, we're calling for development partners to think about an enabling legal framework to continue to support this emerging trend. I think the number one thing that struck me is we keep talking about this like it's really new, but from the perspectives that were coming from the panel in terms of the supply side, so people that have built platforms that are providing this sort of service, perspective from the demand side in terms of corporates and others that are supporting this ecosystem, be they development partners, be they governments, is that there's a high level of awareness. So I think what we need to bridge is what is there in terms of what we know and what we are actually practicing. That's the number one thing that struck me about today. But the second thing that also struck me about today is that we're pushing back on what is understood as the gig economy globally and starting to say, what does it look like for us? I especially loved the conversation between the formal and the informal economy and us actually saying, we have always had a gig economy. We've always had an informal economy. So we are actually transforming something that we already know, something we already understand, and starting to organize it or to structure it. And I think that's exciting. I think just what everyone has been saying today is that it's no longer the future of work, it is work. This is what we are currently facing. So it's actually something we need to think sooner than later. It's urgent. It's not something in a mythical future. So the future of work is here.